Hey guys, welcome to Dr. Kim Live. Today we're going to be talking about millennials and millennial marriages. So if you're millennial, stick around whether you're married or not. If you know some millennials and you think you could learn something to help them, stick around too. We would love to have you continue to join us. Okay, we are back. It is great to be here on Dr. Kim Live and to have you guys with us today. Last week was an incredible week as we did the Not Me thing. We started that. It's a movement for men to help us get away from pornography, to help us not to objectify or treat women badly in any way. And we're asking men around the globe to join us, to say hashtag not me, to say it stops with me, to take the pledge with us. If you didn't see the pledge last week, I'd love to share that with you now, and because it's kind of a little video that explains all about what we did last week. How does it affect your marriage when you spend time with porn? How does it affect your wife when she finds out you've been looking at porn? How does it affect other women when you devalue, objectify, or dishonor them? How does looking at porn dishonor God's plan for marriage? How does it affect your relationship with God when you look at porn? I invite you to join me and thousands of men globally by taking a stand against pornography. Take the pledge, post the hashtag, join the fight. Hashtag not me. I will not dishonor my marriage with pornography. I will not dishonor my wife by looking at pornography. I will not devalue, objectify, or dishonor women in any way. I will not dishonor my God in his incredible plan for marriage by looking at pornography. With God's help each day, I will not give in to the temptation of pornography. We invite you to join us. Hashtag not me. Yes, if you haven't joined us, we would love to have you be a part of this with us and join the movement, not me. Just think what not only could do for yourself, for your marriage, but just think if one guy at a time we did this all around the world, the changes it would make in our world, in our families, in our lives. So we'd love for you to join us. So we're going to talk about millennials today in just a little bit. You know, some people say, well, what are millennials? Well, the definition really is people that were born between 1984 and 2004. That's kind of the group. They're after boomers, they're after Gen X, and they're before Gen Z, which is the group right behind them. And so last year, YouVersion asked me to write a plan to help millennials with marriage. We know from statistics and everything that millennials are getting married later, and we're going to talk about some of those reasons. But those who are married, those who are trying to have a marriage that's good for them, that honors God, so this was what the plan was to kind of help them do this. We've surveyed a number of couples to have them tell us what was really needed, what they thought would help them in their marriages, and so then we developed the plan out of that. As I was looking around this week, I noticed I found an article by Michael Hobbs in Huffington Post. Michael is a millennial. One of the things that he said that I thought was really interesting, he said, what's different about us as individuals, meaning millennials, compared to previous generations is minor. What is different about the world around us is profound. And I think that's so true, isn't it? In the core, I work with a lot of different people in counseling. I work with people that are young, that are old, the Gen X, millennials, boomers, Gen Z. I work with people of black and white and Asian and all different, and Hispanic, all different things like that. What I see inside, they're all the same. It's their life circumstances around them that we react to, that we try to figure out, that we don't know what to do with. And so I think one of the things that we see with millennials is financial debt is a big deal for them. And they'll be the first generation ever in modern history to grow up and be poorer than their parents were. Just think about that. All the money that we worked every hour together to pay off our student debt, it would take us only 306 hours to do that. Today, for millennials, if they put everything they earn for 4,459 hours, that's what it would take for them to pay off their debt. That's a huge, huge thing. So most millennials are coming out of college with a student debt, which makes them defer getting married, makes them defer having kids because they're not getting married. It makes them defer buying a house, and some of them think, can I even ever have a house, ever buy a house? So a lot of things that they have delayed in life just because of their state that they're in. So they're in a unique situation, and I think millennials then that are married find themselves in a unique situation too. They have a lot of their peers that aren't getting married. If they get married and have kids, there are not a lot of people around that are doing that. The ones who are trying to live their life the way God wants to, sometimes it's harder for them to find other peers and other couples to be with. So all those things are challenges that millennials have as they're trying to have the marriage that God has for them. So we're going to get into them. We're going to have some questions. I'd love to have your questions and would love to answer those. One of the things I wanted to share with you is a video that we did, a vlog. Our vlogs are on YouTube. This is one just kind of before we get into some of the millennial questions, just to encourage you, something that I think it's easy for all of us to do. Keep saying it. The simple things are what keep a marriage moving forward. It's the little mundane things and moments that build an awesome marriage. Here are the few things that I say over and over to Nancy, and I think it keeps our marriage moving forward. You're beautiful. I try to tell her every single day. Well, I do tell her every day. You know what? I don't think she ever tires of hearing it. Now, someday she might kind of roll her eyes, but our marriage might be in trouble if I stop. So I'm going to keep saying it every single day. Second thing, what can I do to help you today? If I keep serving her, our marriage is going to keep moving forward and be good. So I have to keep myself asking this question on a regular basis. I can't stop serving her, so I can't stop asking this question. Number 3, I love you. I do love her, and she needs to know it. I can't stop telling her this very important thing. I'm going to tell her it every single day till I die. So what about you? What do you need to keep saying to keep your marriage moving forward? You may feel like a broken record, but there are a few tried and true things you need to say over and over again in order to keep your marriage from breaking. And then you're going to have an awesome marriage. Yeah, I think those things, are just a reminder, and I think that's what our vlogs do. They kind of have some points and things you can do practically to make your marriage better every single day. So I'd love you to go on YouTube. I'd love you to listen to those. I'd love you to rate and review them and help us get more people to know about them. Okay, so when I wrote this YouVersion plan for millennials, the whole idea was to kind of address the issues that they had given us in the survey and to write a YouVersion reading plan that would help them have some practical next steps that they could do that would help them improve their marriage, help them deal with some of the things that they have to deal with as millennials. And so each one of the parts of the plan, I think there's 7 parts to it, has a video and then some Bible verses and then some text that I've written and then some real practical next steps for them. I want to show you one of the videos so you'll get an idea and hopefully encourage you, especially millennials, to take a look at these plans. Let me ask you a question. Do you, as a millennial, get tired of all the labels the culture puts on you? It's like all millennials are put into this box that has all the negative labels written on it. Today we're going to look at moving you out of the box our culture has put you in and moving you into your own millennial marriage box. Now instead of working on labels that don't fit, you can embrace who you are as a couple and begin to explore who God says you are and see what He has for your marriage. And that box, that will be a perfect fit. So the plan is Challenges of a Millennial Marriage. That's a graphic that you'll find on YouVersion. Just go to the YouVersion app, put my name in, Kim Kimmerling, put in Awesome Marriage, or put in Challenges of a Millennial Marriage, and you'll find it, and I think you'll enjoy it. Hopefully it's really helpful for you as you look at that. Okay, so one of the things that I think millennials struggle with is how do we stay married in this culture that doesn't put this real high value on marriage. And then to know that only 26% of the people between 18 and 29 are married. You take that back to when I was married, when Nancy and I got out of college, it was over 40% that were married at that stage of life. The other thing that I think millennials you guys struggle with a lot is that a lot of you came from broken homes, so you didn't have the in-home modeling that a lot of us did. A lot of people in other generations, Gen X and Boomers, and so that's a big deal. And so I think there's all these negatives toward marriage, but you know, if you look back, probably every generation had their struggles in one way or the other. Your struggles are just unique to who you are. And I think what God wants you to do is lean into him and trust him for answers. You know, Jesus said in John 16:33, I've told you these things so that in me you have peace. You will have suffering in the world, but be courageous. I've conquered the world. I know that scripture, you think, oh, Jesus, I wish, if I'm a believer, if I follow you, I really wish I wouldn't have the hardship. But what he says is you're not going to have hardship. You are going to have hardship, but he's always going to be there to walk through it with us. He never promises an easy life, but he promised to be with us. And honestly, if you look back over your life and my life, that's how I've really grown. That's how I've learned. That's how going through some hardships have really made Nancy and I have the marriage that we have today. God's always going to have the answers if we just seek him. So how do you stay married, millennials, in this culture? How do you go the distance? Well, I want to show you 3 points that I think can help you go the distance. The first is commitment. You know, you stood before God at the altar. You promised to stay married forever. It's a deal between you, your spouse, and God. God will always do his part, and I think you can't forget that when you go through hardships, when you see other millennials not being married, when you see other millennials struggling, that you made a commitment, and God's going to always do his part. You just have to do yours. You know, when I see young couples, and there's more divorces now in the first year of marriage than ever before, when I see couples go through those things, it really saddens me, because I know that as we leaned into God and we persevered through hardships in our marriage, it's helped get us to where we are, and we learned and we grow because of that. And a lot of times I think just there's that hardships come and we bail. So the commitment is so important. Persevere, be committed, know that God is on your side, and let him continue to help you build this marriage. The second thing is prayer. I know if you're around me a lot, I talk a lot about prayer because I know what it's done for us. Pray this way for your marriage. Every day, pray for your spouse and pray for yourself as a spouse, and you pray for your marriage, for God to make it what you want it to be. You can pray out loud together. You can pray sitting together silently holding hands. You can pray when you're not together, but consistently pray for your marriage. You've probably heard me say it before. We started praying on our honeymoon night 1. It was Nancy's idea. I wish I could say it was mine. It wasn't, but it was hers. But I guarantee you that beginning for our marriage, and that we've prayed probably 90% of the nights we've been married over all these years, if anything has made a difference in our marriage, that's the thing that's made a huge difference. And the third way to go the distance, see each other as a gift from God, and that's spelled wrong. Sorry about that. See each other as a gift from God every day. Cherish that gift. Never take each other for granted. And serve each other like Jesus served you. If you do these 3 things, if you make that commitment, and it's a no matter what commitment, if you make, and I'm not talking about abuse or things like that, I'm just saying normal things that go through marriage, you make that commitment. You commit to pray together and pray for each other, pray for your marriage, and see each other as a gift from God. That will help you stay married in the middle of all the stuff that goes on with millennials and all the things that you guys have to struggle with and all the things that are going on in our culture today, and you can have the marriage that God intended you guys to have. So another question that came up is, which should come first, career or marriage? Okay, so you're a millennial, you've gone to college, you've come out, you got this debt, you figured out, what if I get married and don't work? What does that do? Man, I got to pay off my debt. So if you're married, this is for if you're married. If you're not married, then you can make a choice. You can say, I can put off marriage. I want my career. I want to build my career. That's fine. You can get married later if that's what you choose to do. But if you're married now, you only have one choice, and that's to put your marriage first, because you made a commitment before God to do that. So the question comes, then how do you do that? How do you make that marriage be first? Well, I think it's going back and saying, if you have the career you plan for, then you want to also have the marriage that God designed for you. And so you're going to have to put a lot in it. There's a few bullet points that I thought would probably help you as we talk through this, and let me put them up for us. Hopefully they'll come up here. You never know, do you? Okay. There we go. So if you both work, make sure you do everything you can to have the same or very similar schedules and days off. That is so important. If you've got different work schedules, I've had couples that hardly ever see each other. You've got to have time together. So do everything you can to build your marriage by having similar schedules and days off. Number 2, never take a promotion or job change without talking it over together. So if you get all excited about your boss gives you a promotion, you've got to talk to your spouse about it because it affects them almost as much or maybe even more than it does you. You want to fair-proof your marriage. Have pictures of your family in your office. Talk about your spouse in positive ways. If you work outside or something, keep those pictures around somewhere on your phones and always be showing pictures of your spouse, your family, those kind of things. Don't confide in someone of the opposite sex at work about anything. It's just not healthy to do that. It's a baby step toward an affair. And after work, have a connection time each day for the two of you when you're both at home. Talk about each other's day. Talk about how both of you are doing and identify things that you can pray about together. If you do those things, you will be putting your marriage first. You'll be honoring God with your marriage. And that's really what he wants you to do. It's not that complicated. It's just being very, very intentional with it day after day after day. All right. Okay. So the other thing that I think millennials deal with and that are dealing with in a way that other two generations ahead of them did, and that's the whole social media deal. Now, we all deal with social media now. We all deal with the comparison thing. I just think that all that has been a part of millennials' life for longer, percentage-wise, than it has any of the rest of it. And I think what I want you to, as we talk about today, I want to talk about how it affects your life and how it affects your marriage. So let's look at a clip from video. Christina's talking about some things that women can do to protect themselves online with social media and all that kind of stuff.
From a female perspective,
Yeah.
what are, because I think for men, a lot of times it's pornography that we're maybe drawn to more than anything else. What from a female perspective do you know and your friends do to guard yourselves in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I think for men, it's often more visual, and for women, it's more emotional. And so you're trying to protect yourself from like actual relationships with men, not just necessarily like looking at anything online. And so some practical safeguards that we have are really the things that like our physical safeguards translate into our online stuff. And so Dylan and I don't spend time alone with the opposite sex. And if we do have to for a work meeting or something like that, it's always like in public, and it's not like the norm. It's not like, I mean, Dylan works in ministry, but he's not going to counsel a woman one-to-one on a regular basis. And so, yeah, and like we don't even, I know it sounds silly, but like I wouldn't get in the car with a man, like, and just drive just me and him anywhere. And same for Dylan, he wouldn't do the same for a woman. And so online that translates to like, I'm not going to be texting guys on a regular basis, even though we have some guy friends who like I'm friends with, you know, through Dylan, or maybe I was friends with them before Dylan. But once we got married, we kind of shifted that. And so I'm not going to have a back and forth text conversation with any guys or Facebook message or any kind of online communication, unless it's work related. And even then, it's always focused on work. And so, like, for instance, I text you guys. You guys are my bosses, you know. But I'm not texting you like, oh, how's your morning? Hope you're having a great walk. Like, we're not, like, just chit-chatting. It's like, hey, did you get that document? You know, and maybe, like, a quick have a great day. But it's not, like, back and forth.
Yeah, if you, she made some great points there. I think we just have to be intentional. We have to do some things different. You know, I think that's what I see as a big challenge for all of us, but I think especially for millennials, to do some of the things that we're talking about to build your marriage are a little bit countercultural, since a lot of other millennials aren't even married yet. And so I think that the whole social media thing can cause a problem because you get into the comparison thing. Say you've got other friends that are millennials that are married, and so that they maybe their spouse gets a job, a better job, maybe they get a new car, maybe they finally figure out some way to buy that house. And so you start that comparison thing, and then you get discontent with your own life. Or maybe you're following some of your single millennial friends, and they're having a ball, or it looks like they're having a ball, and you're thinking, I'm married. And so all of a sudden that grass looks greener. So what I would say, I think you've got to be really careful with social media. If you feel like it's affecting your marriage in a negative way, I would get out of it for a while. Just back off. And really the whole idea of unplugging for a day, a week, I try to do that on Sundays. It seems to work well for me to do that. Makes such a difference. It gives you kind of time to renew your perspective. It gives you time to let God kind of speak to you without all the distractions that come in from social media and the internet. And then just guarding your marriage online, and not responding to messages from old boyfriends and girlfriends, and not, those things that are so acceptable in culture. But what I see in the counseling room, so many of those things are baby steps to an affair. And you want to avoid that. You want the kind of marriage that God has for you. So you have some challenges there to work on. The other thing I think too is really making sure that you consistently see yourself through God's eyes. God made you perfect. He made you perfect for your spouse. He made your spouse perfect for you. And as you and your spouse are both seeking God, seeking to become the man, the woman, the husband, wife God created you to be, God is not going to do anything in either one of you that is not good for the other, for you, or your marriage. So hang on to that and just don't buy into some of those other distractions. Know if people are thinking you're weird, that might not be a bad deal. Being weird really might be the best thing you can do for yourself and your marriage at this time. Okay, so I hope you, if you guys have any other questions, let us know. Love being here with you on YouTube. One of the other things that we do is one thing. One thing is an email that goes out Monday through Friday. If you want to subscribe to that, it gives you one intentional thing you can do every day for your marriage. It's easy. It's not a big complicated thing. And it comes to your inbox Monday through Friday. You can subscribe at onething.email. You can also hear the One Things on our podcast, which is Awesome Marriage Podcast. You can find that on iTunes and our website. You can also go on our YouTube channel and you can see some One Thing videos, and they are like this one. So today, let's continue looking at the time you spend together with your spouse. What would you answer to this question? How much time do you think you need to spend with your spouse every day? As I look at our marriage, this is how I would answer for us. It varies. You're probably thinking, what does that mean? Well, Nancy and I know that spending time together each day is essential to our marriage. When life gets in the way and we don't carve out that time for each other, we feel the effects, especially since Nancy's love language is quality time. Our goal is to have at least 30 minutes a day that we spend together uninterrupted. It's much easier for us to do that now with the kids grown and they no longer live at home. But during those earlier years, we had to be creative and focused to make sure we had that time. There have been and will be times in our marriage that we needed more focused time with each other. This is where the "it varies" answer applies. These times have been when we were talking through an issue or making plans for our family or trying to understand each other's perspective on something. There were other things, but that kind of gives you an idea. Often during these talks, we needed more time than our regular 30 minutes. Here's the key point that I want you to hear. Because Nancy and I consistently carved out time daily to talk, we laid a foundation that was invaluable when we needed to talk about difficult or more involved issues. So how much time do you need with your spouse each day? Your one thing today, decide together how much time you need to spend together every single day. Okay, you can get those One Things, all those great places. If you are interested in finding out more Awesome Marriage, you can go to our website, awesomemarriage.com. There is tons of stuff there. There's tons of stuff on the Awesome Marriage YouTube channel. All this stuff, so much of it is, we have it out there for free. You can listen to our podcast on YouTube, and on iTunes and on the website, and just all kinds of places that we have content for you to help you be intentional about your marriage, have the marriage God designed for you. That's what we're all about here at Awesome Marriage. Hope you've enjoyed this today. It's fun being with you every Tuesday on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. We'll be maybe some other places before too long. We got an Awesome Marriage app that's going to be coming out before long, and we even have a TV app that'll be out right after the first of the year, where all our content, you can just sit there and go to Apple TV and click on the Awesome Marriage app, and wow, we have all kinds of great content for you. So we'd love for you to review this. We'd love for you to rate it. We'd love for you to give us some input on what you'd like to see us do in the future. And thanks again for just being a part of this today and joining us. Have a great rest of your day.